Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Price, founder and CEO of the Money Coaching Institute, and this is Conversations about Money. So today I have a wonderful man who is joining me here from also Australia, and that's Elias Aquique. And Elias has been a certified money coach for quite a few years now. And so we're excited to talk to you today, Elias. And I'd just like to start by saying, first of all, I love it that we have more men joining our training than ever lately. But you were actually kind of an early adopter, from the standpoint that, you're not only a man entering this work, but you also have a very different background. You have an engineering background, and really felt inspired to move toward coaching. And you're originally from South America, correct?
That's
So
correct. Yes.
why don't we talk about how it is that you ended up here, at this point in your life, deciding to become a certified money coach, and just a little bit about your journey. It would be lovely.
Yes. Thank you, Deborah. It's great to be here. Great to see you and have this conversation. Yeah, as you very well said, I'm originally from Venezuela. I left Venezuela probably 25 years ago. I had a corporate job. I graduated from university over there as an engineer, like you mentioned. And then I got a corporate job that had me move all over the world. I lived in 6 different countries in a space of 15
Wow.
years. And it was a great career. I had a good time. I met wonderful people. I progressed in the corporate structure. From the outside in, you would say that it was a really successful career. And I had a lot of benefits. I had not many things to complain about, except that I never really liked that job. I wasn't really passionate about all of that. Um, And I was always looking, searching for something else that I didn't know what it was. And then at some point, 15 years in that job, I decided to take a break. I took a 12-month leave of absence and I moved with my family to Australia. I was in Europe at the time with that job, and we decided to come to Australia, check it out for 12 months, take a break. And that's what we did. My wife and my three little kids at the time moved here, and 12 months went by. The company called me and said, okay, your time is up. We got a job for you in a different city here in Australia. And at that point, me and my wife had agreed that moving around and doing something that wasn't really aligned with my values or my purpose or that wasn't fulfilling wasn't going to be a way to continue. So I turned that job down and I decided to keep exploring what to do. And in that process, I started getting a little bit more crazy probably than what I had traditionally been in terms of trying to find a way of making a living, trying to find a way to invest. And I became a bit more um, careless, right, around some of the due diligence around investments or around what to do to make a living. And I made a very aggressive investment that cost me a lot because the person that I got in, long story short, it was like a private loan that I did to someone, and it was going well for a little bit, but then that person eventually defaulted, and it was a big sum that I ended up losing, and that somehow made me reflect about things that I had never really stopped and reflect. I had been too comfortable over the years, almost numbed, really, doing the same thing and getting a good living, getting a good income, and living to a standard that was okay, but again, not necessarily fulfilling. And when I intentionally decided to step away from that, because I didn't have true clarity of what I wanted to do, I started to do things that obviously were not favorable to me or ended up not being favorable. And what that did is it really affected me in my self-confidence and in my desire to even keep going forward to try new things like I've always wanted to try. So I started searching for something, for help, for clarity, for support. And I remember I ran into a Money Coaching Institute ad online, just in my search. And
Mhm.
I didn't know anyone that had done that. I didn't know anything about you at the time. But I kind of went with my curiosity and I leaned in and I reached out and I did coaching. I remember I did money coaching for myself with you.
Yeah.
And in that, I saw so many things so clearly that helped me understand how I got myself into the position that I ended up at that time.
Mhm.
And I saw it so clearly and it was so valuable that I said, wow, this is amazing. And I know I need more of this. And I know a lot of people that need this. And in conversations with you, obviously, I understand that part of your mission is obviously to grow this work through the leverage of people that are aligned with your values and your intentions. So I saw the opportunity to be one of those, and immediately I jumped in. So yeah, that's right immediately after I finished my coaching with you. You invited me to consider the money coaching certification. I stepped right in. Um, Here from Australia. I did it all online, obviously. And it's been great since then. And that prompted me to change really my career over, at that time I still had I had another, I ended up with another job. I had started a business that grew, got acquired, and I ended up working within that business for a number of years. And I started doing money coaching part-time. And now I'll say it's probably been almost 3 years now where I left that job, which is part of what I discover and how, yeah, I discovered through money coaching and by coaching other clients that I discovered the importance of really aligning what I needed to do. And that included leaving my job for good and focusing on helping people the way I wanted to help people. And money coaching is a big part of that. So I'll stop there for now. I think in a nutshell, that's how I ended up here. Yes.
It's interesting because I had forgotten, it's been such a while since
Yeah.
I did the coaching process with you. I'd forgotten about the experience that you had that I know was quite painful for you with the loss of that money. And you said something really interesting that I just would like to have people understand that, and I'm sure you know this by now, is that when we sometimes are misaligned and what we're doing isn't working, and a person starts to think about, well, I've got to figure out what else can I do, right? How can I get out of this and find a way to make a living and, you know, pursue something else so that I can let this go, right? That's usually the point in time where a person is most likely to make an error because no longer are they being the person that, because you've got great warrior magician. I remember that from the beginning. So you shifted archetypes in that moment. And I'm curious if you know what archetype showed up that was trying to find a way to get out, but actually became a saboteur, which, by the way, everyone who's listening or watching this is very, very common at that point in time that we will shift archetypal dynamics and often not recognize that we've actually moved into another dynamic altogether. So, what do you think happened there?
Yeah, thank you. Interesting things to reflect on. And yes, certainly there was a shift. I think when I did my money coaching with you and I started seeing the archetypes, I could see that I traditionally had been, yes, there were good elements of warrior and magician in there. At the same time, though, the predominant archetype for me before anything too bad happened was the martyr.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I was a martyr and I can see, and again, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So the money archetype and the money coaching helped me see that, help me see that at the time. But then it got me the power of it is it's not just about money, it's about how I behave in other areas of my life.
Right.
Usually it's the same way. That's what I discovered. Now, what you're asking me is what transition do I think I went through when I became almost desperate to change and find something, and it's like I gotta figure out a way instead of relying on my magician to guide my warrior. I think I shifted almost to a fool. There was a lot of um, knee-jerk reactions. There was a lot of optimism without proper assessment, right? That I traditionally had never really been like
Right.
that. And
Yeah,
and so yeah, I think that was a big shift, and that's
it
what
wasn't
caused
your
me
normal
trouble.
at all. That
Yeah.
I know for sure. That was not how you operated. But you know what
No.
else came in? It was sort of opportunity meets also the desire for something more meaningful and purpose. So it was the combination of the creator artist who was
Mm-hmm.
seeking a, something more meaningful and purposeful
Mm-hmm.
meets the fool who basically those two archetypes colluded with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the fool then
Certainly.
was like, we just got to get this done and we need to find a solution. But when we are in a more impulsive place, which the fool will tend to do, and will roll the dice, right,
Yes.
in a way that you wouldn't normally have done. And I think it's really important for people to understand we don't have fixed archetypes. We
Mm-hmm.
have what we would call our active sort of the way we are normally. In your case, very high warrior magician from the start, and you tended to operate from that place, but who you were becoming was shifting, and
Mm-hmm.
that therefore brought forward two other archetypes that were just waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important for people to know because whenever you're in a life transition, you have to look out for the archetypes that might come in and become saboteurs. That's usually the most common time. So I always tell people if you're going through a divorce or you've lost a job or you're trying to change careers and or you've received an inheritance or anything windfall wise and or you notice you've got this restless energy, that's the time to slow down and pay really close attention because that's when another archetype usually will start to surface because the agenda underneath has also changed.
Yeah.
And you are
Yeah.
becoming somebody, you're still the same personality, but behaviorally things started to shift. And I just want to say two things. Number one, this could happen to anybody. And number two, you've learned tremendously and it landed you exactly where you wanted to be in the end. Yes, there was a cost involved, but still, I just like to ask, has it been worth it?
Look, it's been, like you said before, painful, but yet worth it for sure. Totally worth it because now and I think the work is never done, but I'm
Hmm.
certainly much more aligned now. I am in a place which feels like the place I want to be and continue growing in. So yeah, it was a big, painful experience. It was a big mistake, but it's not a mistake in the sense that like I could have remained stuck there if I would have become a victim, for example, right? Or
Right,
an innocent. It's like, oh, okay, there's nothing I can do about this, and it's gonna be like that all the time. And sure, that's my destiny, and I'm gonna remain here. I could have become that as well as another transition. Instead, yeah, I had the opportunity and the blessing to learn from the or extract the lesson from that experience, from that mistake, and move forward because it happened. I cannot change that,
that's
but I
right.
can change how I behave going forward. And I'm blessed to have had the right support around me in the money coaching space for sure, and also here with my family. That's the other thing, right? My wife was next to me all along. She always knew every step of the way. I always share everything with her. And she's been, a solid support as well. So yeah, it's been worth it because now I'm doing something that I that is in full alignment with what I wanted, but I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know I didn't know anything that about money coaching anyways. I didn't know money coaching existed.
Right.
And because I had that experience, I went out to look for support. I ran into money coaching. I got supported and then I got involved to do something that now is fully aligned with part of my purpose. So yeah, it's like a ripple effect of something that happened and without knowing, because I kept moving forward or I kept in motion. That's the concept, right? If you keep in
Yeah.
motion, things are gonna happen. And if it's not exactly what you wanted, that's okay. Keep in motion again and keep correcting and keep going forward. And then, okay, you overcorrected maybe, okay, come back again. So it's about being in motion and knowing that if we engage the right profile or archetypes within ourselves, then we're gonna move closer to where we want.
Yes.
That's how I say it. Yes.
Well, and it's really clear to me just listening to you that you've got your warrior magician right back where they
Mhm.
needed to be. And now you've also got your creator artist very aligned. And those are the three, that's what I call the triumvirate of archetypes. Those are the
Mm,
three archetypes that really will get you there. You know, the warrior drives, the magician is there to take the high watch and make sure we're aligned in our actions, and the creator artist brings the best of our gifts forward into the world with a sense of greater purpose and greater vision. So you've
mm.
done it, and so congratulations. So tell me, what does life look like for you now in terms of your practice as a money coach?
All right. So today I like I said before, I left the corporate world. I left the engineering focus of my life. My wife keeps joking that I'm a recovering engineering, she says. I'm a recovering engineer. So, and it's true. And I've learned, so what I do these days, I run together with her, by the way. So that was the other thing that was another side effect that I wasn't never really expecting. Throughout all that experience, and because she was always by my side, we ended up opening a business together. And she herself does coaching of certain types as well. And she includes um, coaching, particularly for women, but it's around regulating the nervous system around the money feelings, right? For women in particular. But anyhow, that's part of what she does. And what I do is I run Integral Group is my entity established here in Australia. I established it in 2021. And basically it's a platform to create community around money coaching, basic personal finances, and something that I created is an online course called Financial Freedom with Purpose. So it's about teaching people the basics of personal finances, and by the way, the starting point of that is money coaching. So it's an 8 module program that has the first 2.5 modules are focused on the relationship with money. That is, to me, for my framework, based on what I learned, that's the foundation that everybody has to start with. Relationship with money, the behavioral component of things. People tend to ignore that. Some of them don't know that that even exists. But even when you tell them about it, sometimes people tend to, oh yeah, yeah, but let me figure out the numbers first. Tell me the strategies, tell me the number. And yes, that could work, but I don't think it's sustainable, right?
Yeah,
If you don't
that
have the
is
right
the
foundation.
problem, is the
So what I
sustainability.
do, sorry.
I said you are correct. That is always the problem, is the sustainability if they don't do the deeper work.
That's right. So that's mostly what I do these days. I mean, I do other things. I'm an investor, and we still do get involved in deal flows that come my way, and I sometimes involve some of the people in my circle. But what I do around money coaching and the financial education business, which is what I love, is that it's financial freedom with purpose. It's an online program. It includes some group coaching in that, and it moves people from that, the relationship with money. I call it the real framework, real,
Hmm.
REAL. The
Hmm.
R being the relationship with money, the
Hmm.
E being the education component, right? Some theories, some basic concepts around assets, liabilities, things like that, budgets in a positive way, not in a restrictive way, but how to understand. I don't even call it budget. I call it cash flow awareness. Like I need to understand where my cash flow is coming in from, where is it going to, and are those expenses aligned with my values? So I help people be aware of how their cash flow flows,
Hmm.
or how the cash flows rather. So that's the E part, the education. The A is actions, is
Hmm.
habits, it's more strategies, more rituals, more different things to do repetitively. And the L is leverage, because ultimately, if you do what you want, you're going to end up in a situation where, okay, you want to achieve things, you have to use leverage, whether it's through money or through
Yeah.
connections or through technology or whatnot. So it's around financial freedom, yes, but with purpose. It's in alignment with what I want. And that looks different for everybody. So maybe that wasn't too confusing or too long, but that's
Not
what
at
I've been
all.
doing these days.
Not,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I love the idea. And it also strikes me that I'm sure you're doing something like this already, but when you go to the A and its action, that's the engaging of the warrior all the way through, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
leverage too is a combination of, the you can leverage from the inside utilizing the magician, and you can leverage externally with the magician, with the warrior and the creator artist gift. So I can see how you can even move the archetypes right into those modules. Um, and I
Yeah.
think it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's a lot of fun. And people, just like I did when I did my money coaching with you, people are blown away once they see it, because that's the value that I see in money coaching, right? Money coaching helps you see your patterns of behaviors, right? Your beliefs. You see them. And then once you become clear, then you choose. Oh yeah, I want to change it, or no, I want to stay the same way. There's no
Right,
there's no right or wrong. I cannot mandate somebody to change
right,
something, but I help them see it, and now they have full awareness, they have consciousness about that. They can choose, and it's their choice, but at least they're making a mindful choice and not an automatic choice without even understanding it.
that's
So
right.
yeah,
Which,
yeah,
as you know, is what people largely do, is those patterns and behaviors run them, and until you know what they are, they're going to continue to do that for better or worse until the person begins to understand. And so that is the power, is to be able to see and understand for sometimes, in fact, for most people, the very first time in their lives, right?
yeah, absolutely. That it's so interesting, and again, that's part of the recovering engineering in me. Like I've only learned, I wouldn't say I only learned, but I learned the importance of that, of being aware and exploring. And it's so much
Oh, yeah.
conditioning that we all have for years and years, right? Some of it is very similar across society, but many things are more individual within the family and depending on the experiences that we've had and or the role models that we had. But that conditioning is so strong
Yeah.
that, yeah, we just see it as normal and it is what it is. And that reality box becomes, oh, it has to be that. And
Yeah.
then everything else we miss out on. So it's so powerful. I cannot speak highly enough about the empowering feeling that it gives someone when they see really what's wrong in them. And then they choose because it's a story that
Right.
you'd help me learn that too. It's just a money story, right? It's a story that we didn't even create. We simply
Right.
inherited that story.
That's right.
It may not be um, accurate at all either, right? It's simply an interpretation sometimes, right? Sometimes, and this is the fascinating part, and this is what I learned, and what I learned, the way Deborah, run money coaching. I know you started with teaching us how the brain works and all of those things that walked us little by little through the path of understanding, wow, this is what's really running us, like I said before. So children are, as we all know and say, they're sponges, right? They absorb everything. They are magical learners. They learn all the
Yeah.
time without even wanting, right? And nothing has to even be said for a child to learn. They pick up the signals all along. And they may not be, sometimes they are not accurate, right? It might be a misinterpretation, but it doesn't matter. If it's a misinterpretation or if it's a fully accurate insight that that child has, or in whichever way he absorbed
Yeah.
it, is still running him over the years. And that's the
Right.
power of
And
clarifying
that's
that.
really important for people to know, is that we always assume whether it's accurate or not, it has an equal impact. If you believe
Hmm.
it happened and that it's true, then it is true for you. And there's
Correct.
no
It's your
there
reality.
we couldn't debate it, because first of all, how would we? Because it happened in the past, A. But even the things that maybe didn't quite happen the way we believe, and we see that a lot, it still had a powerful impact and caused challenges that the person is living with until they can unpack that and understand it either way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Certainly.
tell me
Certainly.
about the kinds of clients. Do you have a particular market that you're working with? I mean, I think it's wonderful because you speak English and Spanish fluently. Have you been able to work in both markets? What's your market look like overall in terms of clients?
Yeah, so what we've been fine-tuning in terms of the market or the niche, if you like. I mean, I love the idea of helping anyone, right? But at the same time, that's pretty much impossible. And you need to clarify your message to be able to communicate with people. I'll say my niche is professionals, people that have like I did, have a good job, have a good income, but they feel still unfulfilled, restless. So people that have financial resources available to them, but they still
Mhm.
feel stuck. They still feel that's not enough, and they think that the solution is more money. So I'm gonna work harder to make more money because that's what's gonna get me out of all this feeling. And that's in my experience, that's not necessarily true. So I love that. I like working with professionals that have good income and they consider themselves time poor and they use that excuse to say, oh,
Yeah,
it's nothing I can do. I just need to keep working, making good money, providing for my family. I'm pretty much stuck. That's
yeah,
that's that's
yeah,
that's a niche that I've, based on my experience, have been able to relate. Have people relate to. And yeah, you know how they say, right? I mean, and really, with money coaching, you can literally help anyone. But you know what they say around there is, it's like you're best qualified to help who you used to be,
hmm,
right? So that's kind of what I've been leaning into. So like, okay, I know I've gone through this for years, feeling stuck in a job because I literally felt stuck. I felt that
yeah,
I had to be there forever, but I was very, very sour and unhappy every single day. And I remember going back home multiple times and telling at the end of the day and telling Maria, my wife, telling her, "Oh, I wish they fire me." I,
hmm,
you know, I wish they fire me. It's like as if I had to wait. Like that was another example of me
yeah,
giving the power away, right? Like, well, if I don't like the job, how can I not what do I need to change, right? And I'm not saying burn the bridges. I'm not saying,
right,
everybody's in a different situation. I'm not saying just leave the job if you don't like it, but it's about what we've been talking about. Okay, let's slow down, let's assess, let's get the right support, figure out
yeah,
what am I going through, what can help me, what is the real issue? Because usually money is not the issue, but we tend to allocate it to money.
oh yeah,
Oh, if I had more money, then I'll be fine. Well, would you? I don't think
right.
so. So yeah, that's the group professionals that are feeling stuck, and they just need to really find that clarity around what is it that they really want to be living in alignment with.
Yeah, and it's always an interesting thing because, as you know, I do business coaching as well as money coaching, and I often find that when people um, have had jobs and they really want to start something on their own, they can have very good ideas, but be terrified of the idea of no longer having the job, where somebody, you have to report, and you basically don't have to invent anything. It's created for you. And the idea that you leave that security and go to the unknown and start something from scratch that, you're having to steer on your own could be terrifying to people. But what I have found really interesting in the last couple of years are how many people who are literally trying. You've said the words out loud. I wish they would fire me. I have clients all the time who sabotage their jobs and even their own companies to try to find a way out because they don't know how to get out of the trap. They're
Yeah.
terrified and they'll sabotage themselves rather than just one day wake up and say, you know what, it's enough now. I'm going to just choose this rather than inadvertently or subconsciously sabotage the very thing that they're holding on to for security, because that's the only way that their subconscious could figure out to do something. And that doesn't usually work out very well either, right? So if you have a client who's a you, right, who really needs to make a change, who is on the fence and wants out of that job or whatever. And we don't try to talk people out of quitting their jobs. We don't. I don't think that that's responsible. But we do talk to people about, let's start looking at what your options could be. So how, when you run into that now, because you've been there before, how do you navigate that territory with your own clients?
Yeah, it's yeah, very interesting question. And is I think it's one of the fundamental elements of the money coaching. And it's one of my favorite parts. When you move through the core process, we start with the money biography, then we analyze the family of origin, and then we start diving even deeper into the money type. Then we go to that last element of the core process, which is your life inventory. I love doing that part. That part is it's just fun. It's exciting to see how helping people explore, remember, not even, helping people remember who they really are, what they really have done, what are their blessings, what are their gifts, what are their skills, what is their essence in terms of who they really are, not what they do, particularly not what they do to make a living,
Right.
but who they really are, and then helping them see how that can be applied for what they really want. That element of the coaching process, that life inventory, is one of my favorite ones. So it comes down to that in my mind, is about helping people feel obviously connected enough to start sharing from within what is it really like the key question for me, and it's not an easy question to answer, but is what do you really want? That's in my mind the ultimate goal. If we help people figure out what do I really want, that clarity, that's the purpose. That becomes the purpose. And then it's easier to become resourceful with the right guy through the right approach. You become resourceful with that clarity. But if you just say, oh, I'm just tired of this, I just want out of this, then that's the risk of running
Yeah.
into the wrong archetype or utilizing the wrong archetype. So rather than running from something, is really moving progressively, slowly and slowly but surely, right? Slowly but surely. And I love that concept within money coaching around the small but significant steps. The three S's, I call it. You created that. It's not my creation, but I love that element. Is that once I know what I really want, okay, how can I get there? And along the way, you can modify that want
Right.
a little bit, but always with clarity and purpose. So that I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what I'll say is more important for
Yeah.
people to see what they want and know that they have an essence in them. We all have it. We just don't acknowledge it most of the time, but we all have that gift in us. Doesn't matter who it is. We have something special. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I heard that before and I didn't believe it. But now I know, and I know that there's more too. So it's work that never ends.
And I think the other thing is that people will learn that sometimes they're just deeply patterned to not take risks. They're
Mhm.
deeply patterned as a result of their family of origin and the messages and or just the hardwired patterns that it's not okay to take risks under any circumstances, and yet there's risk in staying in the wrong place for too long as well. Like we
Absolutely.
think that the risk is making a move when actually the greater risk is not even considering the options. Because how can you grow? And I get concerned about people when they're stuck in places or in roles or jobs, et cetera, that don't serve them, because this is where I see people start to make bigger mistakes and or they start to have other related consequences such as health issues, and or they start making bad financial decisions, and next thing you know they can't make a change because the bad financial decisions have stacked up to be a bigger problem that now they now have to spend their life taking care of that instead of making a change. So I think it's really important to always talk about the cost of not looking at and or considering the possibilities, even if it's scary and involves some amount of risk, we have to also message and help people to understand there is risk in not changing, risk in not looking, risk in not considering the road less traveled. In all fairness, it is, I think, as great a risk as making a change. But
Yeah,
it's not one that people talk about that much, right?
no, absolutely. I 100% agree with what you just said. I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and they were having that idea that like, oh, like this, I'm safe. I'm safe here. Oh, yeah, maybe, depending on what criteria you use to measure safety. But are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you really living your potential? There's so much that you're leaving on the table if you simply feel safe, which is usually an illusion, or maybe it's temporary. Maybe it's not an illusion, maybe it's real, but circumstances change. So maybe that framework may not serve you in the future. Um, I was talking to them about that, and I express it the way I summarize it for him is like, look, you have an opportunity, but you're seeing the risk in the opportunity, as
Right,
opposed to seeing the opportunity in the risk. Yes,
right,
it takes courage. Yes, it's not easy some of the time to take literally a leap, right? But I agree with what you said. The safety element is, in my mind, from my experience, has been usually an illusion. And it's so much better on the other side because then your plethora of possibilities open up. And now, oh, I'm safe because I got all these options. I'm not just only relying on one thing that is not even keeping me happy. I have access to back again to what connects with my essence. That's one thing. And then the other thing I found interesting about what you said, you related it to usually family, right? You said, maybe the family we grew up with or in, had this idea that, oh, you need to be search for your safety. Don't take risks. Just get a job and be satisfied and be content or whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's really what you want. But that when you
right.
talk about family and we were talking about conditioning and those programming things that are in our head running us
Hmm.
without us knowing it. And I mentioned the question before, what do you really want? Sometimes what I found is that question gets shadowed by the question of what are you supposed to do? And that's because
Right.
what my family taught
Yeah,
me,
the
right? Or what I
supposed to
picked
do.
up.
Yeah,
What are you, not what you really want, but what are you supposed to do? So a lot of people live in the what I supposed to do as opposed to the what I want to do. And that, yeah, that's the biggest risk that you live your
right,
life living in a way that you were supposed to live based on somebody else's standard and you never really achieve what you want to do.
right.
That's powerful for me in terms of assessing all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really sad for me sometimes is to have people have those, what I call the prescribed life. This is the prescription your family gave you. You need to be this, do this, become that. And if you do all that, then you'll receive the, acceptance and love, and you'll please them, right? Which is what we all want as children. We
Hmm.
all want to please our parents. Now, I don't
Hmm.
know a child around who didn't. But the fact of the matter is I have many clients, they're still trying to prove to do that in their 40s and 50s and beyond, and sometimes their parents are gone even, but they
Hmm.
can't get out of that place that is so deeply ingrained and entrenched, which is I can't do this because my family wouldn't approve or and they're long gone. And I often have to remind clients, I really think it's important that you know that your parents aren't here any longer. And I'm pretty sure if they were standing in front of you right now, they'd probably say, we didn't get it right either, right? Like our parents were just humans. They made mistakes just like we did. We don't necessarily, as their children, know about them, but they all do because they were just human. And yet,
Hmm.
we, as the children of our parents, often don't want to see our parents as flawed. And it's
Hmm.
not about blaming them, it's just about acknowledging, hey, they did the best they could with what they knew, but they certainly didn't know everything, and they certainly didn't know who you are now and what you need
Hmm.
now. And it's okay to honor who you are now and what you need. It's okay. And giving them permission is a powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I agree with that. And I agree that any parent will stand in front of their child, and if they see that that's what the child really wants and it's gonna really make them happy, they're gonna say yes, go for it, right? Yes, I like you said, I didn't have the tools to let you know that you could do it, or I didn't know any better. They did the best they could. I agree with that. That was another element of the money coaching that was very empowering for me to understand that. It's like, yeah, there's so many things. In money coaching, we help people really literally, and that's the engineering in me. I love the quantifying elements within that, the Excel sheet that help me list the things that I need to honor my parents for. Yeah, there's some things that I may have to forgive them for, but overall, I just honor them because yeah, they did the best. And the other element of that is I'm a father. I'm doing my best. I'm certainly far from perfect. And if I don't, back to the risk element and to the courage of stepping into what I really want, if I don't do it, most likely then that lineage continues of
That's
people
right.
doing what they're supposed to do and not doing what they really want to do. And so by me doing the shift, I'm helping my children do the same, and then that's going to continue, and that's what's going to improve humanity and the whole world, right? Because that's what we need, more consciousness really around
Hmm.
everybody. So yeah, it's super powerful in terms of conditioning from the past, but also it's our responsibility to make the impact that we want to make in whichever way. And there's no right or
That's right.
wrong. I mean, people again have different beliefs and different ideas and different preferences, but it's again, if it's in alignment with what I truly want, I'm gonna do the best I can. So yeah, it's our responsibility as well going forward.
So I'm really curious now that, you've been doing this for a number of years now, and you have three children, how old are your kids now?
Time goes by fast, Deborah. My oldest is 21. He's graduating from university in a couple of weeks. We're going over to Melbourne to celebrate with him his graduation on the 20th. My second son is 18 years old. He's just finished high school last year. He just finished his first year of university here. And my daughter, she's the youngest of the three. She's 16. So yeah,
Still in high school.
yeah, still
So
had
I'm
2 more years to
curious,
go. Yeah.
have they said anything about engineer dad, very linear engineer dad, now coach dad? Have they noticed any difference in you and have they commented?
Um, I certainly hope they've noticed it. I think they've noticed it. They notice one thing they notice is I'm around more. One thing
Mm-hmm.
they notice is, and this may not be necessarily super positive all the time for them, I ask more questions and I
Hmm.
challenge them more to think. Rather than me telling them what to do, I challenge them more. So sometimes that
Very good.
it's sometimes they take on that. Sometimes it's like, well, I don't know, you ask too many questions kind of thing. But yeah, it's I think they notice it. I'm totally different around the house. Like I said, I spend more time here. They hear my vocabulary certainly changed, right? All these I wouldn't have had a conversation like this with anyone, 4 years ago before I knew or I awakened to all of this. So yeah, I think they've seen the change, and I have things around my wall that are, phrases and quotes and ideas, and I challenge them around money because they're growing. And my oldest moved away to Melbourne. I'm in Brisbane. He went to Melbourne for uni. Um, and so I supported him through some elements of the finances, but not all of them. But I supported certainly through the education component or the planting ideas that I maybe would have done in a very different way before. Then my second, and then the other ones hear that, and then when it's their turn,
Oh, yeah.
I'm a different person as well. When my 21 left high school, my 21 had a different dad than my second son when he left high school, and Anna,
Hmm.
my daughter, is gonna have a different dad. It's still gonna be me, but I'm gonna be growing. So it's always different, right? So they see that and then they compare and they ask questions. Oh, but I didn't do it like that, or you didn't do it like that with me. And I said, okay, this is why. So yeah, everybody learns along that. And I think, yeah, there's a totally different. I'm so much more relaxed. I came up with a phrase the other day. I was talking to somebody and they said to me that they were not nobody in my family, but they said to me, wow, you look certainly less structured in your being, in your way to operate in life. And I said, well, I actually learned that the important thing is less logic and more magic. That was my phrase, less logic and more magic. So I think the kids have seen that.
I
They're
like
still
it.
teenagers. Every now and then they still complain or criticize or judge me, but I'm taking it usually with a smile. So
Well, I think the most important word that you used that I really love for you and I love to hear for anyone is that you have a very distinct growth mindset now. You're not going to get stuck again as long as you have that growth mindset. And that's the
Mm,
important thing. I don't
mm,
think, I think we owe it to ourselves as human beings to stay awake to all the ways that we can grow and become more conscious and better human beings. And doing that is going to keep you younger and active and also always having a sense of meaning and even excitement about the possibilities, of what's yet to come, right?
mm.
Whereas
Absolutely.
before, when we feel trapped, we're just like living the days out and waiting till the end of the line. And boy, there's no joy in that. And certainly there's consequences. So, excuse me, I'm really happy to hear about all of this for you and proud of you, Elias, for all of the good work that you've done. And it's very clear to me you've integrated this at a very deep level and you own the work yourself. Like you own it. You've got it. And I'm sure you're bringing a lot of value to people. So I really thank you for that. I always like to ask people, what is it about being a money coach that, what do you love the most about this work um, that you would maybe like to share?
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your words. I appreciate all of that, and I agree, and I thank you because certainly I think money coaching, doing money coaching with you back in 4 years ago, 20, I think it was 2020, 2021. It was a pivotal moment. I didn't know it at the time, but it has become clear that that was a pivotal moment in my life. So I thank you for everything that you had to do with.
You're so welcome.
Um, in terms of what I enjoy the most coaching people is the is the aha moment that they have when they see, oh, yes, I've been doing that. I've been doing that. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I can change that. And it's easy to change. It's the mindset change. You just said it, the mindset, the growth mindset is key. And when we're stuck, we are not having that growth mindset. We're basically frozen, our mind and our body and everything the way it is. Well, the body doesn't freeze because, like you said, the body keeps score and physically things start showing up because it's a way out, I guess, of the frustration. So what I'm getting at is, yeah, the aha moment that the clients get because rather than saying, some of them start like that. Oh, help me make more money or help me sort out my strategy around money. Well, yes, I can, but we mentioned it already. It's not sustainable. You need to do this work first. And if they resist it and if they don't do it, it's never going to work. So for them to do those first steps, once they see that it works, then it's usually, oh, okay, I'll just keep doing that. I'll just keep learning and I'll keep asking questions and I'll keep getting support. And that's how you expand your reality box. Otherwise, you
Mm.
stay stuck here. So it's about expanding. The growth is critical. So I love that people, people want to change their results. And they tell you, oh, give me a strategy, give me the silver bullet, give me a thing to do. So the result comes from the behavior, right? What you do. For what you do, you can change it, but for it to be your new identity, that's what it will make it last. So it needs to become an identity driven thing. And that's where you need to change the belief. Because if I don't change my programming, that conditioning, then that's going to be running me. So I need to change that belief to become somebody that is open. And now I hear more things, I do different things, and the results are going to be different. So yeah, that's the importance of it. And what I love about the clients is when they say it, they don't go back. They like, oh, yeah, now I know. And what I'm saying is not like, oh, it's a cure forever. You have to
Right.
keep doing the work. But once they see it, they have evidence. And then it's easier if they, kind
That's
of
right.
fall on a route later on, it's easier to kind of remind them, oh, look, remember what you did last time? You can do it again.
Yeah.
This is how, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think you're right. People largely do want the silver bullet and they want it to be really easy, but you can't change lifelong patterns and behaviors overnight. You
Mm,
just can't. That's not the way the brain is designed. That's not the way change works. So there needs to be a commitment to not only the willingness to change, but to sustain that on an ongoing basis. And sometimes we get tired, and that's just life, things happen and we forget. And so when I have a client, that calls and says, I just noticed my martyr archetype has been hanging out a lot lately with me, and I need to understand why that suddenly, that archetype reappeared and is getting loud again. And just asking a couple questions like, okay, so tell me what happened that might have made you start to feel, like, whatever it is, like you're sacrificing too much or whatever. And you can just get in there, and ask them to tell you a little bit more about what happened recently. And usually you'll find that something happened that they failed to notice. And
mhm,
when they fail to notice the thing that happened, what I call, my technical word is the owie or the boo-boo that happened that you just skated over and decided not to delve into to discover how that truly impacted you. Let's go back and revisit that and see if we can find the source so that you can let that archetype go again. But if we don't stay, we need to be our own best witness of
mm,
ourself and our own experience, and to own the experience and realize that whatever happens to us, we have the power within us to say, you know what, it's not working for me. It's just not working for me. And then recognize whatever that was is that you have a choice every time that situation arises again. Are you going to allow that to happen, or are you going to say no? And literally, it can be that simple. But until you make that decision that you're not going there again,
yeah.
and therefore you become both the warrior and magician, becomes the good mother and the good father who were there to guide you and protect you for your whole life, right?
Mm, yeah.
And it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
to
no,
me like
beautifully
that's
said.
where you were.
And everybody needs that. Everybody needs that continuation. Again, I said it before, is the work continues.
Yeah.
And yes, I can do it by myself, but if I get support, it's easier. That's another, like we spoke about leverage before. It's easier. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, right? Asking for
No,
help,
no, it's
understanding,
healthy.
look, I'm not what I would like to be. Something is feeling off. What is it? If I can assess myself and figure it out, great. But if not, it's nothing wrong. On the contrary, it's really good to reach out for support. And you asked me before about, who I work with and all that. And I speak Spanish is my mother language. So yes, the answer is, I don't think I answered that before. I work with people in Spanish. I work with people in English. I even work with people in Portuguese because I speak Portuguese. I lived
That's
in
right.
Brazil for a number of years. And what I found out was that everybody, doesn't matter where you're from,
Feels the
everybody
same.
goes through the same dynamics of having something that is planted in there, and until I don't see it, I cannot do anything about it.
Yeah.
I may strike some luck and maybe one-off, things happen not in accordance to that belief, but that's usually not the case. The consistency shows up usually based on that conditioning. And everybody in any part of the world goes through that. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be trying to figure out by yourself. I think getting support is the first change sometimes we need to make to give ourselves the best chance to really reach what we have internally, but through somebody else's help. I think it's very important to know that that's not a journey to be taken by yourself necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, we are all prone to our own blind spots. So when you don't have somebody there to help you, you're not going to see your blind spots on your own. It's
Right.
very hard. That's why they call them blind spots, right?
Right. Right.
And
Exactly right.
and
Exactly
we're
right.
all prone to it, including myself. I know that I have mine, and periodically I've got to have somebody look under the hood for me too, because
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
feel when something's off, but I can't always name it for myself. I need to have a
Correct.
process. And
Yeah.
that's really the beauty of coaching too, is that it's also quicker than therapy. I'm a big advocate of therapy, but we know that therapy is a longer process, for good reasons, and that coaching can get you there much sooner. And most people need to get there sooner, right?
Mhm.
Especially if it's a non-clinical issue, and we don't deal with clinical issues. We largely work with people who are, just everyday people who are just trying to figure some stuff out, and need a hand. And the methodology is very efficient at uh, getting there quickly for people. So I'm thrilled for you and all that you've been doing, and I'm really happy to hear that Marie is working with you, and she's also doing her own, coaching, where it sounds like she's got the somatic stuff down as well. And that's a wonderful thing too, is to just know that, a lot of what happens to us ends up taking residence in physical form in our bodies, and for people to notice that is an important thing, and to clear that too. So that's
Yeah.
excellent. Is there
Yes.
anything special that you have going on that you would like to share with our audience before we stop today? Anything in particular? And please, by all means, share your website and how people can look for you, find you online, etc.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'll say that whether it's with me or any of the other amazing money coaches that exist all over the world, I have found that money coaching is one of the most critical works that somebody can do to really move the needle towards what they want to be in any area of their life. That's the main learning that I had. It's not about the money. At first, I thought it was, but it's just money is just a mirror, and it just shows you many things. So I'll encourage anybody to explore that. For accessing myself, maybe I got a few channels, but maybe the main ones will be my website is financialfreedomwithpurpose.com. Okay, you have the opportunity to take the money type quiz, which is developed by yourself, Deborah. And then that's the starting point. They see their results right away, and they can start opening that door to curiosity to explore more. And then they could, in the same website, there's the information around that course, Financial Freedom with Purpose. It's an online A module course that helps you through that real framework I spoke about. And the other way to get a hold of me is easily through LinkedIn. Elias Aquique. I don't know if this name on my screen is going to show,
Yes,
but
it is right there visibly.
perfect. So yeah, Elias Aquique in LinkedIn. Reach out if there's anything I can help you explore. I'll be happy to just have a conversation and see where that goes. But yeah, it's
Beautiful.
it's just
And by the way, doesn't just work in Australia. He has clients all over the world as well, and that's one of the great things about being a money coach, is you don't need to be anywhere. You can work everywhere. So,
absolutely,
and
absolutely. I'm based in Australia. I travel quite a bit. I have a lot of clients. Some of them I meet in person if they're here. Some of them I meet online. I have clients in Europe, in South America, English, Spanish. I had a client in Lebanon as well once. I have people in Dubai. It's yeah, all over the world. That's part of the beauty is readily accessible, truly for everyone.
well, I'm really excited. I'm hoping to come to Australia next year
Oh,
and
nice.
teach the money coaching intensive process, which I haven't been teaching for years, but I'm going to start teaching it live and teaching my students worldwide. So maybe we'll get you in a live workshop
Oh,
when I come
absolutely.
to
Let me know
Australia.
when that is, and I'll be there. Certainly.
Absolutely. So for now, I just want to thank you so much for your time and for all of the wisdom that you're bringing to your clients and to the show today. So I really appreciate it. Uh, and, please stay in touch. And I hope that people reach out to you because I know that you have so much to offer. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Deborah. It was a privilege to be invited to this space. Thank you. It was very nice to see you again. Thank you.
Take care.